ready.
Okay. I call this meeting to order. And roll call.
Ingalls. Dubravik.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Isle.
Here.
Snyder. And Moore.
Here.
Thank you.
The actual first item of business on the agenda is approval of the agenda for the January 12th, 2025 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
A second?
One second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item, approval of the meeting minutes from the meeting on October 13th, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Yes, motion to approve the meeting.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? They are approved. Next item is public comments, except for comments on public hearings and work applications. Do we have any public comments other than the
Correct me if I'm wrong in the pronunciation, but the windows are Posy windows. Is that correct? Posy or Posy? Okay. They are believed to have been installed or manufactured in 1986, and they were replacement windows to the original from the home. The Posy windows are no longer made, so making repairs or replacement is extremely difficult and expensive. The windows that are being replaced are the ones in worse condition that are causing damage to the home due to leaks. Some of the windows being replaced already have some vinyl or plastic window jambs with wood sashes. There were photos in that attachment that they sent showing that as well. The other question that I asked for more information is, do they have any examples of using this specific Fibrex material in other historic districts? And they stated that Renewal by Anderson have been used in other historic districts, and they referenced 7 different cities, historic districts that they've worked in. And with their experience, most of the time this approval in similar cases, because the windows being replaced are not original to the home and cannot be repaired. And they also included several photos for those. They are also listed as a recommended source for this old house. And then I did ask them to describe the vinyl wood combination replacements that they described in their application, and they can give more detail, I'm sure, on how they're manufactured, what they look like. But my understanding is it's wood interior and vinyl exterior. So next, I did a deep dive into the history just to set a precedence for what the board has done in the past. So I'm not going to read through every single one of these, but there were 11 other requests for replacement of windows. I believe only one other time has this commission approved replacing wood with vinyl, and that was for, let me find, I believe 423, it was a non-contributing house in 2023, 423 East Chapin approved new vinyl windows to be replaced for the decaying wood due to, specifically in the minutes, it said it being a non-contributing home. The replacement windows sufficiently represented an accurate restoration of the existing windows, and the new windows will allow important airflow. There's a few other examples there of things that we've replaced as well. Now, Gwen, I think you're going to know, but nowhere in our record keeping could I find what the original material for the Carnegie Library. You guys replaced those storm windows in 2021. What was the original material for those?
The original windows were a metal casement. So,
Okay.
So when we went to restore those, that was working on the original. Some of them were wood, some are metal.
Okay.
And then the storms, they were, that's where there's a little more latitude is in storm windows, because they say a storm is not altering the original structure of the building proper. So that's where they had more latitude with approving those, because they weren't originally there.
Yeah.
So you're adding it to it, but it also, when you add it on, you now can take it off.
Okay.
And that's the justification of messing around with storms a little more leniently than the building proper itself. So
Which I believe some of these are storm windows as well, but that can't go into more detail. I just apologize. The minutes and stuff that we had on file in the application, none of them stated what the original materials were. So
yeah.
that's
Well, some were wood, some were
our
metal,
record
but either
keeping
way,
should
they
have
actually
that.
glazed them all. They sanded them down, sanded down, chip out any putty that's not where it should be, where it's lacking or chipping, lifting, and then everything gets caulked, primed, repainted, or reglazed first, and repainted.
well, I appreciate
And
that.
then they added storms over that to protect the restoration.
I have we've gone through and itemized every single application that's come before the board, and we're putting notes in there so I can add that to our Excel spreadsheet of a little more
That's what I'm
detail.
remembering.
Okay.
Yeah. May have to go look yourself.
Right?
Get
Yeah,
a-
see a little
what do
bit
you
more
call it,
information. So
a dental pick to mess with them a little bit.
So I did add a couple other sections to this staff report than what we've had in other ones. Part of that was that we reached out to SHPO, and so I do have a brief description here of my conversation with SHPO, but then our contact, Haley, also sent a write-up for that, which is an addendum to your packet, which is included there. And what you have before you was just a single sheet at the back of your packet for your reference. But I did reach out to SHPO just for more context, because we've never had an application this large for this many windows going from wood to this combination. And so I reached out and asked them what are their standards. So Haley Schreiber is the person that I spoke to. She is the CLG and Community Preservation Coordinator. So she answered these from her perspective doing the preservation tax incentive, and she said that they do not automatically give a tax incentive for this type of application. It's quite rare that they approve a tax incentive from wood to vinyl for many reasons, but they typically request replacement be from wood to wood or from wood to fiberglass wrapped in wood. And there is more details and some more research resources that she included for us as well on that separate sheet. Finally, the last thing that I did is I went through our design guidelines and went item by item to list out what the standard is and then how their application fits with that standard in the summary of findings. So the Historic District Guidelines does state that our purpose is to recognize, protect, and preserve a part of Cadillac's heritage for the future. Windows and doors are the only category of our design guidelines that impacts both the interior and exterior. That's the unique part of this application. And specifically, the design guidelines state that we need to maintain the appropriate window size, spacing, shape, trim are essential so that the configuration of the facade is not changed and the visual character of the building is retained. So I'm just going to go quickly through each of the standards and my findings from their application. So the first standard is to retain and preserve the original windows. As per the guidelines, the applicant and owner are preserving the original number, location, and size of the windows, but do not plan to repair any of the existing windows. The current windows were made in 1986 and are wooden with a mix of wood and vinyl plastic window jambs. The decorative sashes and architecture are being fabricated to match. The windows will not retain the original wood material. Second standard is cutting new openings or blocking in existing windows are not appropriate. The applicant does not plan to do that. Third standard is to retain and preserve original window decorative elements. The applicant plans to replicate all of the decorative window sashes and will have wood interior with the vinyl exteriors. The next standard is to maintain and repair the original windows and decorative elements. The original windows will not be maintained or repaired, but replaced. The surrounding moldings and woodwork will be repaired and replaced depending on the level of water damage that is found while they were replacing the windows, is their plan. The next standard is replacement of windows and decorative elements. The replacement windows will match all decorative elements as closely as they can. And final standard is that storm windows shall be compatible with the building. The current windows have some that are storm windows and some that are not. The new windows, I believe the applicant can correct me, will not have storm windows on the exterior moving forward. They're going to remove that from that. Our historic significance, we recently did that, so if you guys are okay, I won't read that through in detail, but I'll jump here to our synopsis and the commission action. So based on staff research of similar projects within the historic districts, found that only once since 2012 has there been an approval to replace wood windows with vinyl. This application was from 2013 for 423 East Chapin, which had a detailed motion of approval citing the decaying wood, non-contributing property, historical accuracy, and improved airflow. SHPO supported that precedent, stating that this application would likely not receive a preservation tax incentive. So the commission is being asked to approve this. Your abilities tonight, you may approve with conditions, postpone for more information, or deny based on our discussion. So at this point, I'll open it up to Brett if you had anything else you wanted to add that I may have missed or give more detail.
Hi, my name is Brett Mahaffey. I'm with Renewal by Anderson. So the first thing was the vinyl and wood windows. The current windows existing are vinyl and wood windows. They have vinyl jam liners, wood sashes, and I believe when I tried to look up the posi windows, I think the outside's actually an aluminum clad on it. The miscommunication was on that. Our windows are actually a Fibrex material. Anderson's been using it for several years now. It's a wood composite material, so it is vinyl and wood extruded together. So there's no, it's all like one solid piece throughout, and then the color is the coating on it that's put on during the process that all of this is extruded. So it's all one piece, just so you know. And then we don't touch, when we do historics, we try not to touch exterior trim. So I brought a sample. This home doesn't have the brick mold on it, but this would be like a piece of the L trim. We just butt it right to the side. We're not gonna touch the inside. So our window's gonna sit inside of there. We're gonna get as close as we can to the existing opening, and then it's just gonna be a very small L trim to the side. So we're trying not to or do anything to the exterior to compromise that look. The CAD drawings, just to clarify on that was actually for the grill patterns. On the upstairs windows, it's a fancy design. I'm just gonna double check with our CAD. I haven't gotten them back yet, but they should be able to replicate them. It's these fancy looking grills. They're all on the top upstairs windows that you can see. As far as the storm windows, some windows have storm windows, some don't. Some of the storm windows, I don't think these storms are original to the house because some of them have grills in addition to the grills from the replacement windows. So you have like a double shadow, two grills that you can see, offsetting. So it's not a historic look at all. I don't think the original windows would have had the original storm windows would have had any type of grills. That's usually not something that normally is like that. Usually it's just clear, because you don't want to change the look from the exterior on historic houses. And then, let me see, try to bookmark everything she brought up. And yeah, that was it, I believe. The only thing I think I noticed that was going to change was on the upstairs windows. These are all replacement windows, We were actually gonna do a circle top on the top, because that was probably more legit what it used to look like, with a or a window below it. So it would still look the same from the street view. It just wouldn't be a double hung that opens up like that. But I think that's all. I don't know if you guys have any other questions.
Yeah, do you mind if I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so this is my thoughts on it. I did go and I looked at applications just because there was the statement that these were typically approved in other historic districts. And so I actually went and researched in the other historic districts. I only got as far as Detroit. I didn't get to Ann Arbor and those other
Yeah.
places. So, and you were actually the applicant on
Yep.
all of the applications I looked at.
Great.
And what I found was that there were actually more applications were denied than granted. And the reason for that was exactly what my concern is here. And I'm not feeling like a denial tonight because I feel like we don't have the information that we need. And I'm going to suggest something after I finish saying what I'm saying. But the key issue that those historic districts were considering, which is the exact same issue that we have to consider here, which is the replacement of like for like. And whenever there was a request to replace wood windows with the Anderson product, it was denied, flat out. If you were replacing vinyl windows or aluminum clad windows, then it was granted. So the lack of clarity that I see in the application is which windows are original, if any, which windows are aluminum clad, if any. I don't have a clear picture of which windows are which, and that's significant because you start getting into what are the elevations, for instance, from the main elevation of the house, which of these windows are aluminum clad, if any, are any original. I am going to suggest that we do an inspection of the property with a member of HDC and someone from the city. I think it would be fair to the applicant because then we can actually see what the windows are. We can make a better assessment because, I mean, obviously this is one of the, if not the most premier property in the district. And we have basically a history of flat out denying anything that is not a like for like replacement. We can't treat this property any differently. And because of the number of windows that are being proposed to be replaced and the concerns that I personally have about what's going on, like which ones are storm windows? Are you saying that there are storm windows with no window behind them, just storms?
No, I'm saying that there's windows with a grill and a storm window on top of it with a grill, so you get that double effect from the outside
Right.
view, which isn't historic.
Right, okay. So those are the sorts of things that I'm talking about that I think an inspection would provide a lot more clarity than trying to look at the pictures, which are frankly hard to interpret, and trying to compare that with, statements, generalized statements like most of the windows are, vinyl or aluminum. So
Now, you guys
That's-
completed an inspection already. Would that inspection report have any of the detail that Michelle is asking? Do you
I
know?
think that was their realtor or their person. They said they had the
Okay.
inspection.
Oh, yes, sorry. So we can hear you.
I mean, we had an inspection when we bought the house, and I can look back to see if that's included, but you also did an inspection too. So I'm not sure if that's included in your report. I don't know.
Yeah, I give them inside and outside pictures of every single window that we're doing. So normally that would be the inspection that most historics look at.
right, but we can't tell from that what is actually, because the statement is most.
Right, and I
Or
can tell
vinyl.
you exactly which ones are though, if you really wanted to know versus going out there, but
Yeah, I think there needs to be an inspection for the amount of, I mean, this is an application to replace 31 of the windows of that house. It's a huge ask. It's huge. I think we need to understand the degree of degradation. We need to know are any of the windows wood? Are any of them wood?
so like I said, it's a wood vinyl mix. All these replacement windows, probably like 95% of them are that wood replacement window. So they're vinyl jam liners with wood sashes, and I think they're all, from what I researched, it looks like they're also aluminum clad windows on the outside.
Okay, so I do think there needs to be an inspection
Okay.
by the city and someone from HDC, and I'm thinking Gwen probably.
I would be happy to look almost more as a neighbor, you know, helping, because are you done with your comments, Michelle? Or do
Yes.
you- Okay, I have some thoughts. I've had 2 of my 3 historic properties in town, we've restored the windows on. And so some of them, we only actually had to replace 2 windows out of my whole house. And we replaced, you know, now again, when we moved in, when you move in, you're like, you get whatever comes with the house. And that's the thing, you get a hodgepodge, you know? So some of them, clearly someone tried to keep with the historic character or whatever of the wood, but then some are clad with aluminum, some are maybe just be flat out vinyl, some are wood on the interior. But for instance, this one, what a beautiful window, right? The pattern. But you look at that and you would never have had in an Italianate home, you would never have had a flat profile on your mutton bars. So this was someone's replacement. So from the exterior, you still get a beautiful window, but on the interior is actually kind of where that one falls short. I mean, that's just one window of how many, you know? But then others where they have wooden windows, which is more in keeping with the home, and as like Shippo is, let's see here, or Shippo's standard preference, wood with wood, or with fiberglass wrapped in wood, so it still looks like a wood window, but I guess the guts are a modern, nicely functioning window. That's kind of the standard, and that's why, because you end up with this hodgepodge stuff, you know. But some of these, you know, we're not building inspectors ourselves per se, but you know, have had some experience with a good number of windows and worked on the library, which was a whole different animal, because I'm like, oh, never worked on metal windows. You know, that was a different historic charactered window set as well. But there are, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to slight Anderson, but long ago when we looked at, do we replace, because we're not even in the district, we aren't bound by any of this, my house, you know, but our office is. So, you know, you have both of those situations, but at our home, we literally had everything sanded, reglazed, re-caulked. So if a window's leaking, you caulk it, it doesn't leak. You glaze it, it doesn't leak. That's, you know, that's where you're restoring the window. And on some of these like this, that's not a rotten window. That just needs to be sanded and refinished. And if it's leaking, you seal the leak. That's how you restore that. That's restoration, you know. It's a lot of like labor hours, but not replacement product. But then some other pictures, not of this window, but others in there where the window that they chose to replace with, you've got this tracking stuff that part looks like vinyl, part looks like metal, you know, and like at least not on this window, but others, you actually have parts of it that are cracked, because that's what vinyl does, it cracks over time. It's not a forever product either, you know. So now they've got you stuck with maybe a track that's not great, but a pretty wood window on some, and then others are kind of, okay, from the street it looks good, but from the inside that's not really your ideal profile. That wouldn't have been what was there, but what's there is gone, you know. Somebody replaced, so you're trying to find something that's good for you on the inside, good for you on the outside, and fits these standards. It's a tough sell, you know. But we did look at other companies. We did look at ones that actually do, which would fit SHPO's requirements, that do wood clad inside, wood clad outside. And so many of the new windows like these are, we want it to look pretty inside, but actually the historic district standard is for what we see on the outside. That's all that matters to us, as much as we'd love your inside to be beautiful. So wood clad inside, great. I mean, that's really what is important too, but the wood clad outside, it's what's more important, and matching the mutton bar patterns, matching the depth, the width, foreshadowing, all of those things are the exact match. And unfortunately, vinyl, I'm very anti-vinyl myself, because it catches the light completely wrong. It doesn't catch the light like paint. It catches the light like plastic, because that's what it is, you know. And the vinyl cladding, I'm not fond of that either. I don't think it catches the light right. I had a real heartburn over really the storms we did do on the Carnegie Library, and I think they turned out pretty well, but you know, just the sheen is not the same, you know, on some of the newer products. So we did have, for instance, in our garage, it's a new build garage, and it's double hung wooden traditional windows with pulleys and the whole shebang, made by a millwright out of Grand Rapids. There are millwrights in Traverse City. There used to be a great millwright in town, but she passed away. But so those options of really truly wood divided light windows are out there, and I did not find them. People get in the thought, oh, it's so much more expensive to do wood. It really wasn't. So that was my experience, you know. So sometimes that can actually be approached to do wood, and it literally, they botched your jambs, they botched your window bars, but come up with what would have been as close to original and have it recreated. It may not be as expensive as you think. It'll be expensive, believe me, but you're looking at a $90,000 bill right here, you know. So
For
it's
all
not,
the windows, apparently.
yeah, you know, so it's not cheap with the new product, and it's not a forever product either, you know. So the few vinyls we do have in our house that were there before we came, in the basement, in the attic, probably because those are the areas things go quicker, they're the windows that are the leakiest and the most unreliable for us, but we had a real restoration job done. So restoration is possible, wood for wood, like for like with the millwright. I just think it's nice that this is coming in January, so there's time for you to look and research and look at this as one option sort of a thing. But again, if it's not passed, which it would be hard for me to pass a vinyl clad window on the outside personally, it just doesn't to me fit the standard. Whereas Marvin Windows, that's a restoration company as long-standing as Anderson, that they have wood clad interior and exterior for your historic preservation line. And then just this window company is one that came into existence because they said, we looked around for wood replacements and we found it inordinately expensive, and these are people who had some historic farmhouse, so they made their own company and replaced all their own windows, and they're like, we can do it cheaper. So again, what does that mean? What are their prices? I don't know, but their stuff that I was seeing was very nice, and it was true double hung recreated wooden windows, and that was heirloom windows, so I can at least pass that information. I mean, I can let you know my vote on this particular product line because I've looked at Anderson in the past and myself was not pleased with how it felt in historic character. And whether I liked it or not, it's not my problem. It's not my house. But for the standard, I don't think it makes the standard. You know, and I know these windows are not all original, but we're looking at, you know, the most important house in town, with the exception of maybe one or two other structures. You know, so we're looking at the best we can do for the whole community too. And that's, you know, if we want to allow something that's an exception to the rule, then just drop the historic district. Then just don't do it. You know. Either we all want to do what we want on our houses, or we say the historic integrity is important. And right now, that's what the community voted for. The city implemented off of community input that they wanted the structure and standard in place, you know. So, but I think there are some options, you know. And again, I don't know if this is the entire line of what Anderson offers. It sort of, I didn't do a full in-depth on Anderson, but from what I saw, it looked like this was the most historic option they had to offer, where Marvin has a little more historic and then this other does. But I mean, I've had just millwrights make them do a great job, you know. So those are my thoughts, and I agree with you on the hodgepodge look of the storms going over the main body, and like, what are you doing? You aren't even matching up your mutton bars, you know. And so yeah, it definitely at times looks, what is that? You know, ill-coordinated. So the storm again is a separate issue. If you went with an original double hung window like reproduction, then you might want storms on top of it. That's what we did. We did original windows and wooden storms over it. I mean, not original, excuse me, reproduction, but in that style, you know. So, and the original wooden, not original, the historic wooden sash storm window style, actually when we had vinyl aluminum rattling all over the house, and when we took them off and had wooden windows made and put them up, we're like, wow. Our heating wheels dropped with wood, and the sound dropped with wood. It was amazing. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's not what the industry is selling. So it was an interesting concept. And yes, our interiors are of the house proper, that wasn't the add-on. They're a little rattly, but like I said, with those wooden storms, they work great, you know. So those are just options, but you know, a storm is kind of a separate issue where I think there's more wiggle room in the standards. But the double hung original, even though they aren't original, they're still wood, which is the standard of the district. So that's just kind of part of where we're at, is wood, going back to wood, you know. But I'd be happy to walk through as far as, because it's a lot of windows, window to window, and a lot of hodgepodge. From the pictures, they seem, I can get a pretty good, I'm sure not all the details, but I can get a pretty good look on those pictures and get a lot of what you're saying, you know. But a face-to-face is certainly not unreasonable. So those are my thoughts. I think there are some other options, and it's good this is January, so you can look and see, and I'm only one vote here on this panel as well. So, you know, and my own thoughts and my experience with this sort of project. But I've done it for 2 buildings, actually 3, including the library. So it's a thing, windows, you know.
Carla,
So.
do you have comments?
I'm nowhere near as experienced as all of you are. I was concerned about after the project, if the existing windows can be salvaged and maybe kept somewhere for other properties to use in restoration. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but that's really all I have. You guys have covered everything that I could have thought of, so.
John, do you have comments?
I'm just curious, instead of a vinyl exterior, Anderson must make an aluminum clad or a,
We're Renewal by Anderson, so we're not Anderson, we're Renewal by Anderson.
Oh.
We're the replacement division.
okay,
You wanna see?
yeah, yeah,
We're the replacement division, so we handle everything from, marketing, sales, and install and service right from our core location.
Gotcha.
Grand Rapids.
okay. So you don't, this is all you guys have then?
Yeah, we just have one line.
Okay.
We have the different styles, but it's all the same material, it's all the same.
And all the exterior vinyl is always the shiny? You don't have like a
Correct.
matte?
That's the final
Okay.
finish, depending on what color you
Gotcha.
want the exterior.
Okay,
It's applied in a process at the plant.
okay.
It just looks like plastic, I'm sorry. I mean, that's just the, you know.
One thing on, I don't recall, I'm sorry, because I looked at several websites, so I don't remember if it was Anderson or if it was Marvin that had if it was in this line or it was the Marvin windows that had, because this is a problem when a district does allow new windows to be put in, replacing the old. This is so unhistoric, you know, everybody wants insulated glass, right? But I don't know if it was your company, the other had that this wasn't it, that they had supposedly a thin glass where they could keep the same depth of the sash, I mean the wood portion, and it was a thinner insulated, I don't know, product. And I thought, oh, that'd be interesting, because I was hoping you'd bring samples, you know.
Yeah,
So I think
Anderson doesn't have anything like that.
I think it was Marvin that did that. But anyway, so that they could keep whatever historic project it was they were keeping, even though they ended up getting their insulated pocket, you know, I'm like, oh, because that was like a newer thing, I think, that they had created. But it eliminated this, because that in itself is a problem right there. With the depth, you're going to lose your depth as you thicken up your glass, you know, of your window, and you lose your shadowing of your mutton bars. You either get a gap of air, or they'll put like a little foam liner thing in there.
Unless
and-
you do full divided light, and if you looked at the Detroit ones, a lot of them, they only approve full divided light. So you have the exterior, the interior, and you have a spacer bar in there. It's not foam or anything, it's all.
Mhm. What is the spacer bar made of? Is it
I think it's stainless steel. Stainless steel.
Okay. Well, that looks better than foam, for what that's worth.
If you look, when Detroit approves us, so you're right, Detroit won't approve us if it's a wood window. They want everybody to repair them regardless. If it's like all of these windows that have been replaced, they would let us replace these, as you've seen from that. If it's has GBGs, you know, a lot of vinyl windows have grills between the glass, they'll deny it and they'll make us do full divided light because it mimics that from the outside. It gives it that depth because it sticks out, I think, like a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch on the outside and on the inside, and in the spacer bar in the middle.
Mhm.
Yeah, just based on what we've discussed and also seeing that proposed product, I feel like I'd want to attend an inspection too, just so I could see what the windows look like.
So the one comment that I was gonna have for the inspection, and we had talked about, like you had asked that earlier, if a city staff can come. I'll be honest, I am not an expert, so I'm not gonna know what that material is. We could request that our building inspector attend to assist with that, if that is the direction the board wants to go, to postpone for a later date based on more information from an inspection to find out which ones are maybe already vinyl, and you know, then you guys can make a maybe case by case or make a plan after that for those windows.
Right, and the difference between vinyl and aluminum, I know that the aluminum looks quite a bit different from the vinyl.
I hate aluminum too, I just
Yeah.
have to say.
Well, yeah, but
It
it's,
doesn't.
but if
it
it's
just doesn't
like
look
for
wood.
like, it's something that we
Right,
have to
if it's
consider.
already there, Mhm.
So I think for your benefit, you probably don't want us to vote tonight. You probably would rather have an inspection, I'm thinking.
No,
Well, and-
I'm happy with you guys to come
And
and
are
do
you
an
open to that? I
inspection.
mean, that's more of a.
Oh no, I'm
comfort
open
versus
to it. I mean,
yeah.
it's really. I don't know anything about windows. We don't know anything
like
about
windows.
windows,
I'm gonna
right?
help you with
Like we,
windows.
you know, we are not builders. We are just people who want to keep, you know, we want to take care of the house, and you know, I really don't know anything about windows, but I did a lot of research for companies that I thought we could use, and Renewal by Anderson was recommended for historic properties, and so that's why we contacted them. I don't think I don't think Marvin does. Do they do it around here?
Yeah,
thought
I
they
can at
did.
least give you this stuff.
But at any rate,
Historic replacement, Marvin.
okay. Well, and Gwen, we could chat after too. But
Yeah, I can give some.
but
some information.
our understanding was that a lot of the windows, I don't know the number of the windows, but a lot of the windows that we were going to have replaced are replacement windows in themselves, and I don't think they're wood on the outside. Now they may have been painted to match, right? So they may be aluminum or something on the outside that then have been painted to match, but I don't think they're wood. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I haven't, we moved in and it started snowing 2 days later. So I'm afraid I haven't, had all the windows open and looked at everything. But we're very happy to have people come and take a look. We're very happy to do whatever, that tax and that's important, SHPO, that's important to us too. So I just want to get them done, figure out what we're doing, get them done the right way, and try to move forward. So. Yeah.
And I think we can make the motion in a way so you guys can do what you feel comfortable. If it's the board coming in, or we can say, just an inspection, we can determine who makes that inspection.
I also just want to say that, we did move in and it became, Cadillac winter here. So we noticed that the windows on the second floor, especially, and the third floor are bleeding a lot of cold air. You can feel drafts coming through. So obviously we're going to try to get ahead of this and try to fix it and restore for next winter. So I don't want you guys to think we're rushing into anything, but it's obviously the first thing that we're looking at to restore in the house because we're seeing the drafts roll through and everything like that. So just wanted to say that.
All right, so we could,
So like I said, I did reach out to legal as well, just kind of answering a few questions from the board. I anticipate you guys might want to postpone for more information. So you can make the motion however you wish, but we can postpone it to a firm date, or you can say until an inspection takes place. It can be an inspection by the city and HDC, or if they would prefer to have an independent company, whatever. You guys can make it as specific or vague as you would like. But
I guess my gestalt, honestly, because this proposal as it is, I would simply just vote against it. We have a lot of information on windows, but I don't think it's the window replacement situation. Even depth is like a 1/4 inch when it should be a half right there on the, So just off of that, even if you said vinyl's okay, we'll vote yes. Just the depth on that one, I'd vote no. Because what looks like the glazing piece, the plastic, is the wrong depth, So at least for me, I would be fine with rejecting this application as it is, but offering to go in and inspect and give some advice or some thoughts, even have some of the local craftsmen that have worked on some of these other structures come in and take a look as well, if you'd like, those that are used to working with old wooden windows and fix them, because I say I need it fixed, not replace it, Because they're like, okay, we'll do what you want. And then they do it. And then they're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. But so if you were interested in that, but I myself, I don't really think there's anything to put off on this particular app, because the whole app would have to be, not the windows themselves, but it would be a new application as far as a new product, as far as my vote,
right, and the reason I'm offering this is because it gives the applicant the chance to just withdraw the application and submit it with
maybe
different
some
windows.
alternate
Yeah.
information.
So it's what you would prefer. we want to
Sorry, guys.
the best success.
Yeah, I feel like all I do is withdraw applications, but but yeah, we can withdraw our applications. So.
And then would you like us to come out and do an inspection? Because I think it would facilitate.
We're very open to that. Yeah,
because I think what that would do is it would facilitate the next application, so we know exactly what we're dealing with so you're not wasting your time.
Sorry. I just want to reiterate that we want to do everything correctly. That's why we have this commission. That's why. So there's not we're not trying to just put lipstick. I'm not saying lipstick on a pig or anything, but we're not trying to just get a fix because we need new windows or we need this or that. We want to make sure that the house is preserved in how it is and lives for years to come. So. just-
Well, and I'll tell you what we need is more members on the Historic District Commission,
Yeah.
so.
So one of you guys, at
But
least.
then they can't vote on their own house, so.
No, they can't vote on their own house, but I'm just putting, I'm just putting that out there that we are in need, so, yes.
Brett, thank you. I know it's,
Yep.
I'm sure a lot of work to put together a proposal, but I mean, that's also part of putting out bids and stuff, you know, that sometimes they aren't, maybe this doesn't end up being used, you know?
Right.
But we
But it's not,
appreciate
we're
it.
not just out of the running though. I mean, we can still apply. You just want to have go out there and make sure that we're replacing what can be replaced and what can be repaired is what I'm
I would say
getting.
my vote would be no on an
I
Anderson.
think Gwen has
seeing
a
the
point
product.
with the issue with the depth and the,
Yeah,
yeah.
But even though
If I
that.
may,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So, I guess what are you exactly looking for with the window? Like, actually, like, are we replacing? You want us to take out the old window and shave it down and then, like, put it back in? Is that what?
If it were an original window, yeah, that's what you would do. You may not even take it out, but you
Okay.
sand it in place and repaint, caulk, and reglaze, and glazing is on the outside, caulking might be on the inside, and then the person is priming and painting.
And
And
the
as far as restoring double hung windows, and no, they're generally not airtight. A lot of times, that's why they had storms. And so sometimes, usually, people are choosing to have storms with their double hung windows, but as we've seen a lot, I don't know how many, but a lot of these aren't original now anyway, but they're at least still adhering to the wooden window standard in the district. So that's where I was mentioning these alternate products. If you want a new modern product, but at least you can get your exterior wood clad window and the appropriate matching depth and mutton patterns.
And-
Like
and
they'll cut an OG and Marvin windows where that,
What's your expectation with like the exterior look of redoing that though? Like, how are you going to protect it? Are you painting it?
if it's wood, yeah, it would need to be painted.
Okay. So you're not recommending like a wood clad window. You're recommending going out and finding actual wood windows.
At minimum, they would want a wood clad, or they also look at fiberglass. Well, yeah, that's what wood clad is, the fiberglass wrapped in wood, to give you that, because the paint takes differently on wood than it does on vinyl, and then it does on aluminum, so it's a different, so it flashes out differently, everything is different. So, yeah, so that's it. And again, sometimes a clad window, like the fiberglass, whatever, clad in wood, you're still meeting that standard. Like they were trying to do something in that vein, even though at the time they did this, there was no historic district, but they were in that same vein of, this is a national registered site. You can only modify the exterior of a registered site, like I believe it's 20%, or you lose your designation.
Now, that was another question.
And
So
they already
given-
changed the roof a
yeah,
few years back to
given this is
asphalt. So
This
you
is
gotta
a
watch out.
national registered property. Are
Yeah.
you wanting to keep that designation?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
this could impact that.
Yeah.
And that is important to us, which is
Yeah.
why this is important.
Right.
I don't think SHPO would ever approve fiberglass or vinyl windows, so
Probably not.
so
Yeah.
I don't think that would be an option either, even if it were wood clad.
Yeah, well, I don't know, that's what their standard, fiberglass wrapped in wood with wood or fiberglass wrapped in wood. I guess that's their exception to go to a newer window where, for instance, you're tracking, like these things that they did 50 years ago, they already had a newer tracking, but like some of the pictures show the tracks are all like cracked and stuff, because vinyl goes bad too, So anyway, but the cleanest picture is wood, but that may not be what they want to do. Maybe they want what is it? This heirloom windows, that's why I thought, oh, okay. That's sort of looking at that SHPO thing of where it says fiberglass wrapped in wood. These have a pocket, and again, I'm sorry, I don't know price on this window brand, but it is a wood window, but then they sort of, the pocket thing in the track, there's a weather stripping within, like if your interior of the wood, it just looks like the wooden window in the frame, but then they have this little insulator thing, or not insulator, what's the word? Weather stripping, that like tracks up and down so they don't have air leakage around. Again, is that a better system? I don't know, because they're already past, somebody already ripped out they might not be ripped out, sometimes they're in the wall still, But usually if they've ripped out the jambs and stuff, they've taken your weights and your pulleys and all that out. So most of them probably don't have that any longer. I think I saw a weight and pulley on one window. And that's about it. Yeah. So anyway.
Anything else to add? All right, so we'll treat the application as withdrawn, and then what we'll do is, since it's been withdrawn, we can just do an informal inspection, and Gwen lives across the street from you, and then Gwen can contact me. If you want me to be involved, I'm happy to take a look. John probably too.
As long as you're open to people walking through your home, I think it's a good learning experience for all of us, you
I
know?
would love to
No,
go.
no, we're
if
happy.
it
We're
works
happy.
out that way.
We're happy to have people, whoever on this commission would like to. Welcome to.
And we can help, as staff, I can help facilitate that. If you want the building inspector there, he can maybe come and give some expertise as well from his perspective. But it's up to what you guys would like. Okay.
All right then. Well, thank you, and
Yes,
we-
thank you.
yes, thank
That's
you.
a lot of work already, what you've done. That's a lot of tracking and
Thank you for buying the
figuring out what you
property.
need. Yes.
Your Christmas decorations are beautiful.
Yes, they are. Very nice.
Oh my gosh.
Yay! Look very nice.
All right, next item of business is appointment of officers.
Yes. So currently our officers, Michelle Carter is our chair, our vice chair is John Isle, and our secretary is Mark Snyder. Unfortunately, Mark has moved outside of the city limits, so he and I did speak this morning. He has not given a formal resignation, but he will have to step down from the board. So tonight we need to set all three, and we will for sure have to replace him, whether or not Michelle and John would choose to be appointed and or stay in their positions. That's for you guys to discuss.
I prefer not to stay. I prefer Gwen to take my job, my position.
Me?
Yes.
What is your job again on this list?
Vice chair.
I was
Vice chair.
talking.
You used to be it, I believe.
Sure, I would do vice chair. Will you still stay on the commission if I do vice chair?
Perhaps. Perhaps.
Bitte
Yeah.
schön.
Yeah, it's slippery slope, 'cause, like, we're gonna be gone for a couple months here. And
That's
then
okay,
with the,
John.
With the baby at home, and now
That's okay. You bring your baby with us. We'll each hold your baby while we talk.
I've threatened to bring my kids a couple of times.
Is
Yeah.
it possible for anyone to attend by Zoom? Because I think that was.
Unfortunately, with the Open Meetings Act, voting members cannot attend by Zoom any longer. After COVID, they got rid of that.
Okay.
Well,
Yes.
I think you have a lot to offer still, though, and even if you were only partially participant, it'd still be worthwhile.
Yep.
As long as we make a quorum anyway, right? Sometimes people can't come.
Yeah.
Like Ann's not here tonight.
So you could appoint Ann. She's not here. She can't say no, right?
Exactly.
You can appoint
That's
her to
right.
secretary.
Yeah, let's
Or
appoint
Carla.
Ann secretary.
yeah. I'm fine
And
with that.
I would do the vice chair thing is if you'll stay on. That's my compromise.
It's a 4-year term, right? That we agreed to.
Oh, let me double check that actually.
Yeah.
So your officers are for 1 year.
Yeah, it does seem like we cringe over the
I have
4 year,
our
doesn't it?
things printed off
I think,
here.
I think it's been quite a few years.
Yeah.
So appointments shall be for 3 years, except for the initial appointments, which is done. So, yes, it's a 3-year term. Did you just
Well, I will
recently get
stay on until
appointed?
we find some replacements.
Okay.
Okay.
How about
Can we nominate Jennifer to come on?
that?
She has an application.
do you?
Oh,
good.
perfect.
So,
haven't filled it out yet.
Oh.
Oh,
But
okay.
can't we vote and pending her application? Can
no,
like,
we
you
have
know-
to set a secretary that's on the board already.
Okay. All right, fine.
Okay. So from what I'm hearing, Michelle, if your agreement would be chair, Gwen to vice chair, and we need to select either Carla or Ann to be secretary.
Carla, what are your thoughts?
What are the responsibilities?
Minutes.
So staff does all the minutes and prepares a lot of those things, but I do need signatures. One of the items we're gonna do here is the annual report and the guidelines. The secretary has to sign and document those items.
So really, Abigail does the work for you, but
Right.
you are her
Yes.
reread, double check, proofread, and
Right.
sign.
Sign off on
Okay,
it.
Yeah.
sure, I can do that, yeah.
Make sure I don't make any mistakes with the minutes and those types of things.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, I'll accept.
So you can do one motion for all three, or you can do them individually.
I'll do it for the entire slate of officers with me as chair, Gwen as vice chair, Carla as secretary. Is that it?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And John's staying on.
And John's staying on the commission for now.
right.
We need you.
Next item of business is approve the schedule for 2026. Why did I couldn't find a schedule.
I didn't print the schedule. We currently have it by the bylaws that we meet the first or the second Monday of every month as we have work applications. So that is what we'd be approving. We don't right now post them to the public. We can choose to amend our guidelines to make it a bit more vague so you guys have the ability to set those dates if there's any meetings that you would like to change. Several of our boards have made those updates so that it's not set in stone that we meet every month for different reasons, right? Of getting quorums, different things like that. Ours has always been based on work applications. So we don't print them and typically put them out, but we've always approved the schedule even though we don't post a schedule. So I'm following what we usually do, even though it doesn't really make sense, to be honest. So that's one of the things in the guidelines that I might be looking at potentially updating or changing during the 2026 year.
So should we do something different?
So
Is that what you're suggesting?
part of what our next item is, let's skip down to E. Let's talk about best practices and a bylaws review. In front of you guys, you have a green binder. This is something that Teresa, our community development director, has started with each of our boards and commissions. So this binder will be present at the beginning of every single meeting, and included in it is all the materials that you get with your welcome packet. You've got your rules for procedure, your design guidelines, the city ordinance that sets the historic district, SHPO, historic information, and the Open Meetings Act, everything that we thought would be important. These are not for you guys to take home, but they're for you to have here as resources every meeting to pull up and look as we're having discussions.
That's great.
So these are here for you guys. Please leave them. Don't take them home. But we can get you electronic copies or print you a copy if you need. You should have gotten all of these when you joined anyways. But part of that is I included with your packet a bylaws review every year. We as best practices are going to start having legal review ours are not called bylaws. Yours are called rules of procedure for this board. We have them review it and make sure that we are up to standard on, best practices, any state or federal laws that may have changed, and they do those reviews. So I've included in your packet the suggestions from our legal team, and it's kind of our homework. I want you guys to take it home. It should have printed in color with their red lines. And I'm looking at it right now, and I don't see the red lines on this version. So I will get you guys the red line version. I apologize. The last document in there was supposed to be the red line rules of procedure from them. So I will email that to you guys so you have it, and then any other suggested changes. As staff, I do have a couple of suggested changes for our process. We currently have a 7-day application process, so this application could have been turned in last Monday, and we would have been required to see it. Thankfully, they presented it to us a few weeks ago, so I had time to do research and to do that history. So I'd like to review with you guys updating some of that so that we can match a lot of our other boards and commissions and planning and zoning applications as 30 days. But if we don't have to, maybe it could be less. We can expedite that so that we can get these applications to you guys as soon as possible.
Would there be a contingent in that of 30 days unless
possible.
whatever
Yeah.
the
Staff
commission
can fast forward.
or
Yeah,
staff can fast forward it.
if we can make it faster.
'Cause a lot of people don't think about things until the spring,
Yes.
and then it's such a short building season that
Yes.
they have to wait a month before they can even get something approved.
So I'd like you guys to take the rules of procedure as well. I would like you to review what legal put in there because you would be updating or expanding those. But also, what other thoughts do you guys have for updates that been sitting on the board? Any other suggestions that you're like, man, I wish we could expedite that? One comment that I hear all the time is for re-roofs. Because
For what?
for re-roof applications, they come in for that building permit, and that is one, if we don't have a quorum, then they have to wait longer. So one of the things that Teresa has done in her experience with other historic districts is that they create like a subcommittee. So it's not a quorum, but basically for us, for yours, potentially it would be 3 members make up a roofing subcommittee. And I, via email, would send out basically a mini staff report and that application. And if everybody's in agreement, we can expedite that, get that building permit issued, get that going. And then it would be at our next regularly scheduled meeting with other work applications, a summary of what that subgroup or subcommittee did. That can be via email, it can be in person, but that's something that I'd like to suggest at our next meeting as we review all of the guideline changes.
I guess I'd have to look in the design guideline changes, but if someone is, for instance, putting on a new roof, but right now they've got black asphalt, and they're just putting on another black asphalt roof, I don't really see any need for them to come before us. As long as they aren't changing the roof line, removing any crown moldings, any of the architecturally relevant features, which probably if they have asphalt, those features are already gone anyway. You know what I mean? So that just is like a waste of a meeting. If it's literally
What
like
are
for
ways
like,
we
I
can
don't
expedite
think we need
things
to
for
meet.
our residents that where we can, but then have the time that we need to research for like windows and those types of
Right.
things.
Yeah.
Put the time in where we need to, but save time in other ways for our residents. That's what I would like to kind of review with our first rules of procedure and then also in the guidelines later in the year. That's a goal that we have. So, but yes, our current is we don't post our schedule because it is set by your bylaws that you meet once a month based on work applications. If we choose to change that and make it more vague, then we would have to legally post your meeting schedule every day or every year. So I don't know why we always approve it by this board, but we always have, even though we don't post it in on our boards because of the way it's written. We have it written that we don't have to do that. So something that I'd like to review. So you guys can approve it today if you would like, but honestly, my other boards don't approve the schedule when it's set this way by bylaws, but you always have. So that's why I added it to the agenda. Does that make
Did it
sense?
because the person before me did it.
Yes, that's how we've always done it. So I put it there, and as I'm reviewing it, I'm like, my other boards set up like this don't do it the same way. So we can change your rules of procedure to say you'll set the schedule at January every year, but it's written so that you meet monthly based on work applications.
All right.
So
So this is part of what we can include in the red line, or is this?
yes, so when I send that in the red line, yep, we can include that in that. So I apologize that it did not print and I didn't catch that. So I don't know that we need to do that. The only thing that we do have to do is this board does always approve the annual report. So we will need a motion for that.
I saw it in the mail. I can say that. Do I have a motion to approve the annual report?
Sure, I will make a motion to approve the annual report.
Second?
One second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's approved.
Thank you.
It already went out.
All right. I only have 2 other things of old business for updates for you guys, and then we will wrap this up. The joint meeting is scheduled for January 26th at the Planning Commission. I can't remember. I thought we talked about this at the last meeting in October, but just to bring it up again, for our redevelopment ready certification through MEDC, every year we are required to start hosting a joint economic development meeting. So we will be doing that in January every year, and we invite all of our economic development, which we include historic district in that, to join us and give a 1 to 2 minute discussion. So what we will be doing is taking this annual report that we do every year. We've broken that down into a couple of slides of description of the work that this board has done. And then a member or 2 are welcome to come and share any comments that you would like about what the board has done throughout the year. So we are asking that 1 or 2 members from each board attend just to represent the HDC if you are able to do that.
Well, if anyone wants to talk about how excited we are about the bricks being fixed,
Yes.
I'll do that.
Okay. If you would like to attend, that meeting will be at the Planning
I don't have to
Commission.
attend,
So,
but somebody
be
should
there.
talk about the bricks. You know?
and I'll be there as well. So if you're able,
What
you're
time
more
is
than
that?
welcome to do that.
What time is it?
6 p.m.
And it's here?
It is here in this meeting. Yep, in this room. And the last item that I have to give to you guys is just an update on our zoning code rewrite. Michelle has been attending our advisory committee meetings. We had 1 educational session already. We will be doing the other one on February 4th out at the Wellfield again with some different topics. Going to be focused more on topics after now that we're doing the actual review of the code and what changes we want to make to the zoning code. So that progress is going along pretty smoothly. I feel like we're regrouping after the holidays, as everybody is. But we have postponed the advisory committee that was supposed to meet this week back a couple weeks, just to allow us a little more time to get in depth on the zoning code rewrite, so that we can have some tangible things to share with the community. Do you guys have any questions about the zoning code rewrite in that process?
I don't.
All right. Well, if you ever do, let staff know. We're trying to keep all the boards and commissions up to date on what's going on and how it impacts each of the districts. So.
Okay. Next item of business, commissioner comments?
Okay, I have a comment,
Okay.
and maybe more of a question. But would you all like these to be linked, or whatever, a copy of this, of, for instance, the Marvin windows, historic replacement, this heirloom windows, as two possible viable companies, not only for the Haneys, but other people that really need to replace their windows, to streamline, because part of it is the hodgepodge thing that's going on, is a matter of, even if some are aluminum clad, others aren't, you're trying to streamline so the house is uniform, you know, and have one good plan, you know. And again, they may or may not be warranting restoration versus replacement, you know. But these might be viable replacement options.
Right, and
But
that
if
just
we-
raises the subject of, do we want to have some sort of resource guide for the historic district commission?
So
for
people
not
can
just-
look and see, here
not
are a
just
couple
windows.
companies that you're
But
not
all
gonna get a
across.
hassle.
And
if
I've
you
been
come to us with this
organizing-
product, you know?
Yeah, I've been organizing our files that we have, and so we do have some resources that people have had, but we don't have, like you said, like a whole list of everything, and just getting that organized. So yes, I would like you to send me the information so that I can have links and have different handouts, so that when we get applications or inquiries before applications, I can include that, you know, here's the guidelines, but then here is also a list of companies or styles of things that the HDC suggests as people are moving forward, just so that we can be more as upfront and clear as possible to the applicants.
Versus us, you know, coming up with the application. If we already say, yeah, this is a reasonable company, or that one is, then it gives a little latitude for people choosing
I think
options,
as long as
you
there's,
know?
yeah, options.
Yeah.
For different things.
So you're not locked in to any one thing
Right.
necessarily.
Mhm.
So, because again, that was an overview look that I thought, oh, these actually, I think these would either one be probably reasonable, but, you know, maybe even getting a sample, you know what I mean? Once you start doing this stuff, like you get your Anderson sample, and then you're like, oh, that's not gonna go. You know, you cringe a little bit, but so it's like they may say whatever on the internet and do good work by people's reviews, but then you get your sample and you're like, oh, that's not what we thought it was, you
And
know?
there might be other historic districts
Mhm.
that have actual online references to
That we could link to our
resources that
website.
we could pilfer,
Mhm.
you know.
Haley actually gave me some other lists of well-run historic districts for me to be able to ask questions and learn from some other communities. The other thing that Teresa and I have been doing, just to kind of bounce off of what you're saying, Gwen, is we've been doing a lot of research into different grants that we can give as the city, both historic homes and non-historic homes. There are some grant opportunities through SHPO and other organizations. But I will say, stay tuned to the city council meeting about more residential grant options
Well,
for
that'd
the
be great
future.
for people, because it's, I'm
I
sure
can't share a
just the
ton
economics been
at this
hard.
point, but the meeting on the 20th, we will have more information about potential residential facade grants, or just different grants in general.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
You guys have really stepped it up.
We're
Yeah.
trying. These
exciting.
facade grants are hard to come by, and unfortunately, over the last few years, John and I would find out about a program, we'd go to apply, and they're like, we just cut that. We'd go for another one, oh, we just cut that a month ago. And so we've been just behind on several facade grants, which is frustrating because our community could really use it. We have a very old history, you know, housing wise, if we have very old homes in general, not just in the historic district. So we have a lot of, you know, knob and tube wiring and a lot of, you know, asbestos siding, and that's a barrier for people because it's very expensive to remediate or cover up. Then you have to get all new siding. So
I have another comment. I'm super excited. Been talking to this architect, this preservation architect out of Holland, and his little person he works with is a professor at Notre Dame, and they kind of tag team in 2 different areas on historic preservation. This is in regards to the Carnegie Library, which is our historic museum in town. And so, I mean, the reason I went to them was ADA compliance, okay? That's kind of where, that isn't really restoration, right? But you need to do it in an adaptive reuse kind of way that doesn't mar the building, disturb the building, or as minimally invasive as possible, all those things. So, anyway, one is more about infrastructure with how you negotiate that with code stuff, and then the other one is more about the aesthetics as far as that. So, hopefully they'll come forward and, they've suggested, for instance, us approaching the city, about, for instance, grants like, even they were saying residential, that it's like, well, yeah, the city owns a building, that a little nonprofit can only be due for so much as far as maintenance and repair, but like architecture isn't maintenance, you know what I mean? It's really the planning phase, so that's an area that the city could nicely come in and help before we start, on another fundraising effort to do another big project over there, but anyway, so that's good. I'm excited.
Yay.
They're all jazzed up, and I think they would both be good,
Very positive. Any other comments? Any other public comments? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're done.
Thank you, everybody.